my cheating wife and my brother had a baby behind my back, and my mom showed up at my job. Screaming I ruined everything, I never thought I'd be writing something like this, but I honestly don't know who else to turn to. My life, the one I thought was stable and predictable, turned into a nightmare in a way I could never have imagined. I'm 32, married to my wife Lena for 6 years. We lived in a modest but comfortable home, shared bills, split chores, and from the outside, we looked like the kind of couple people envied. I thought we had trust, love, and respect, the usual marriage goals. My brother Ryan is 2 years younger than me, and while we had the usual sibling rivalries growing up, we were close. I trusted him. I trusted all of them. Looking back, I probably ignored subtle signs that something was off. Lena started disappearing more frequently, giving vague excuses about work or errands. Ryan would show up unannounced, and I'd catch them whispering or exchanging quick, awkward glances. I chalked it up to my paranoia, but the feeling in my gut never left. Then, a few months ago, everything exploded. I accidentally stumbled across messages on Lena's phone. She left it unlocked for a second while cooking. At first, I thought I was misreading things. There were pictures of her and Ryan, intimate pictures. And then I saw ultrasound photos. My brain froze. Lena and my own brother had a baby, and no one had told me. No warnings, no conversation, nothing. I confronted Lena immediately. She didn't even flinch. She admitted everything casually, like it was no big deal. "We didn't want to hurt you," she said. I couldn't believe my ears. My heart felt like it had been ripped from my chest. The person I loved, the person I trusted with my life, had been lying to me for months. And my brother, my own blood, was part of it. I felt like I was living in a nightmare. I couldn't process the betrayal. I sat on the couch, shaking, staring at the walls, trying to understand how they could do this. And then Lena dropped the bombshell. They expected me to help, to contribute financially to the baby. That was it. That crossed a line. I couldn't. I wouldn't. I refused to be responsible for a child that wasn't mine and a betrayal that I didn't consent to. When I told Lena and Ryan that I wouldn't pay or support them, Lena started crying and screaming that I was cruel, heartless, selfish. Ryan tried to reason with me, saying it was the right thing to do and that I should take responsibility as a man of the family. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I was the victim here, and suddenly I was supposed to be the villain. I tried to keep it from the rest of my family at first. I didn't want to hurt my parents, especially my mom, who had always adored Lena and trusted me to make the right choices. But secrets like this have a way of leaking out, and the guilt and pressure started to eat away at me. I couldn't sleep. I'd lie awake at night replaying Lena's words, Ryan's smug looks, wondering how people I trusted could betray me so thoroughly. Anxiety consumed me. I started skipping meals. Even work became unbearable because every phone buzz or knock on my office door made me panic, expecting more confrontation. Then came the day I will never forget. My mother stormed into my workplace unannounced, red-faced, screaming at the top of her lungs. She was accusing me of ruining everything and turning my back on family. Her words cut like knives, echoing through the office. Colleagues stared in disbelief as my mother pointed at me, her voice shaking with rage and tears. She was furious that I refused to support Lena and Ryan, that I was letting them suffer, and that I wasn't living up to my responsibilities as a husband and a son. I couldn't speak. I tried to explain, tried to tell her I was betrayed, that I didn't owe a dime to the person who had cheated on me with my own brother. But she wouldn't listen. She kept yelling that I was selfish, heartless, and that I was destroying the family. My coworkers looked mortified, some of them whispering behind their hands. The humiliation was unbearable. I felt trapped between betrayal, family loyalty, and my own principles. I had never felt so alone. The people I trusted most, my wife, my brother, my mother, had all turned against me, expecting me to take the blame for a situation that was their doing, and worse. The life I had carefully built for myself, the sense of stability and trust, felt completely shattered. I don't know how this story ends yet. I don't know if my mother will ever understand, or if Lena and Ryan will ever acknowledge the hurt they caused. All I know is that right now, I feel blindsided, humiliated, and completely betrayed by the people I loved most in this world. I just needed to write this down somewhere, to get it off my chest, because I can't talk to anyone without hearing judgment or excuses. Has anyone else been through something like this? How do you even begin to move forward when the people you trusted most are the ones who hurt you the deepest? Update 1. Family drama explodes. Mom blames me. While my cheating wife and brother keep smirking, I still can't believe how fast my life spiraled out of control. After my last post, where I shared that Lena and my brother Ryan had a baby behind my back, things only got worse. Much worse. The day my mother stormed into my office still plays over and over in my head. It wasn't just a confrontation, it was a public spectacle. I was sitting at my desk trying to focus when I heard shouting in the hallway. I looked up and saw her, red-faced, tears streaming, veins showing on her neck as she bellowed my name across the office. Colleagues stopped what they were doing, phones went up, and everyone's eyes were on me. "You ruined everything," she screamed, pointing at me like I had personally orchestrated the betrayal. "How could you turn your back on your own family? You are selfish, heartless, and a disgrace." I tried to speak. I really did. I started explaining, shaky voice, hands trembling, that I had been betrayed, that Lena cheated on me with Ryan, that I didn't owe them anything, that I was the victim. But she wouldn't listen. Every word I said was interrupted, dismissed, or twisted. Colleagues were awkwardly glancing at each other, whispering, trying not to stare too much. Some of them later told me they felt terrible for witnessing it, and I don't blame them. It was humiliating. After my mother left, still, screaming at the top of her lungs, I felt a mix of anger, disbelief, and pure exhaustion. I couldn't comprehend how she could turn on me like that, after everything. But the drama didn't stop at the office door. As soon as the story spread, my family began picking sides. My father, surprisingly, stayed neutral at first, trying to mediate, but even he seemed conflicted. My younger sister called me crying, saying I had to fix this, and extended family members started taking Lena and Ryan's side. It was like a tidal wave of judgment crashing over me. Every call, message, and family gathering turned into a debate over who was right. Lena acted wounded, deflecting any blame onto me. She claimed I had failed as a husband, insinuating that I drove her to Ryan. Ryan, on the other hand, was smug, playing the "it's complicated" card like it somehow excused their betrayal. Meanwhile, my mother's relentless insistence that I needed to provide for the baby or risk shaming the family forever made it feel like I was being cornered. I won't lie. It's been agonizing. I've spent sleepless nights trying to figure out what I did wrong, questioning myself and wondering if I should have somehow noticed the signs earlier. Guilt gnawed at me, even though logically I know I did nothing to deserve this. Anger bubbled constantly, sometimes erupting over the smallest things, and confusion. Every day felt like walking through a fog where nothing made sense and everyone I trusted seemed determined to make me feel like the villain. Lena. And Ryan's audacity has been infuriating. Lena continues to post pictures of the baby online, smiling with Ryan, completely unapologetic. Ryan calls me occasionally, claiming we need family unity, but all I hear is manipulation and gaslighting. Every interaction leaves me feeling drained, angry, and further convinced that they don't care about my feelings at all. Meanwhile, my mother doesn't stop. She's called me multiple times, left furious voicemails, and even sent messages through family group chats, telling me I'm ignoring my responsibilities and betraying the family for selfish reasons. She suggested, more than once, that I should reconsider supporting the child, framing it as a moral obligation. At first I thought maybe I could negotiate, find a middle ground, but I realized quickly that my family isn't looking for compromise. They want submission. The social humiliation has been overwhelming, too. Word spreads fast, and suddenly, people at work, neighbors, and distant relatives know about the betrayal, and they assume I'm the one at fault. Casual conversations turned into awkward glances. Some people offered sympathy, but others quietly judged me for not doing the right thing. Even co-workers who once respected me seemed to distance themselves, unsure how to react to the chaos. Pressure began to wear me down. On some days, I felt trapped, like I was being suffocated by the expectation that I'd forgive, pay, and protect the very people who ruined my life. Every time I tried to assert myself, my mother's voice echoed in my head, accusing me of selfishness. Every attempt to explain to friends or co-workers was met with pity or disbelief. And yet, in the middle of all this, I realized something. I cannot let anyone manipulate me into taking responsibility for something that isn't mine. Lena and Ryan made their choices. My mother may think I'm failing as a son or a husband, but this is about my life, my principles, and my sanity. I cannot let them dictate my choices just because they want to rewrite reality to suit themselves. That said, I'm starting to consider more serious options. Conversations with a lawyer about my rights have entered my mind. I've started thinking about whether there's any legal recourse to protect myself from being forced into financial obligations for a child that isn't mine. I've considered cutting off toxic family members for my own mental health. I never thought I'd go down this road, but the betrayal, combined with my mother's relentless pressure, is forcing me to take extreme measures to protect myself. It's terrifying. Honestly, I never imagined that my own mother, my wife, and my brother could turn on me in such a coordinated way. The feeling of being betrayed on every front, emotionally, socially, and even morally, is something I never want anyone to experience. I still wake up some mornings unsure if this is real, if maybe it's some twisted nightmare. But every time I see Lena's social media posts, Ryan's smug messages, or my mother's angry calls, the reality sinks in again. My family is fractured, and I am left to pick up the pieces of my life alone. I don't know how this story will end. I don't know if Lena or Ryan will ever feel remorse, or if my mother will stop treating me like a criminal for refusing to pay for a situation I never created. But what I do know is that I need to take control before it destroys me completely. Legal action, distance from toxic family members, and strict boundaries are starting to seem like the only way forward. I'm terrified, angry, and exhausted, but I won't give in to the manipulation. I just hope I can survive this without losing myself entirely. Update 2. Confrontation explodes. Standing up to my cheating wife, brother, and furious mother, I don't even know where to begin anymore. Things have escalated to a level I never imagined. After my last post, the pressure, humiliation, and betrayal only intensified, and I realized that I couldn't just sit back and let Lena, Ryan, and even my mother continue to manipulate me. It started with a confrontation that I had been postponing for weeks. I invited Lena and Ryan to my apartment under the guise of, "We need to talk." Though honestly, I had been rehearsing what I'd say over and over in my head for nights I couldn't sleep. I was furious, but I needed control, at least as much as I could muster. My mother, of course, found out I had called them over and demanded to be involved, claiming she had the right to oversee the conversation. I reluctantly allowed her, expecting disaster, and I wasn't wrong. The moment they stepped in, tension filled the air like a storm waiting to break. Lena's posture was casual, too casual, as if she hadn't just shattered my life. Ryan smirked, leaning against the wall like he had all the power. And my mother, red-faced and fuming, hovered, ready to reprimand me for any hint of assertiveness. I started, voice trembling but firm. "We need to stop pretending that any of this is okay. You two betrayed me, and Mom, you think I'm responsible for their choices, but I'm not. This ends now," Lena scoffed. "You think this is all my fault? Or Ryan's? We're trying to build a family. You're the one being selfish, refusing to step up." Ryan jumped in, smug as ever. "Yeah, you're turning your back on family. That's not right. You owe the kids support." I felt my blood boil. I had spent weeks being gaslit by my own family, and now they had the audacity to frame me as the villain? I shook my head, trying to calm myself. "You don't get it," I said, my voice louder now. "This isn't about morals or responsibility. It's about betrayal. You made your choices. You lied to me. And now you're pretending I owe you something for that?" My mother finally shouted, pointing at me like a prosecutor. "You are heartless. You refuse to help your family, and you will regret this. Generations of family values are being destroyed because of your selfishness." It was like a punch to the chest. I took a deep breath and let her continue while I gathered my thoughts. In that moment, I realized how much of this was generational pressure and cultural expectation. In her mind, a son always provides, a family always stays intact, and children born, even under scandalous circumstances, must be supported. But I couldn't be the scapegoat for their moralizing, so I made a decision. I would no longer be manipulated. I would no longer allow them to gaslight me into guilt or submission. I stood straighter, lifted my chin, and said, "I will not pay for a child that isn't mine. I will not apologize for being betrayed. And I will not allow any of you to pressure me into being a scapegoat for your choices." For the first time, there was a moment of stunned silence. Lena's smug smile faltered. Ryan's face twisted in disbelief. My mother's voice caught. It was the first crack in their armor, and I felt a strange mix of relief and adrenaline. I knew I couldn't. "Stop there!" I had proof. Messages, photos, and recordings that showed the lies, the manipulation, and the casual way Lena and Ryan had tried to rope me into supporting their secret life. I pulled out my phone and, calmly but firmly, began showing them the evidence. Photos of clandestine meetings, texts where they joked about hiding the pregnancy, even snippets of conversations where they laughed at the idea of making me pay. The room erupted. Lena screamed, claiming it was dishonest and private, while Ryan tried to snatch the phone from me. My mother gasped audibly, and for the first time, I noticed hesitation in her eyes. I realized she was questioning her assumptions, wondering if maybe I wasn't the villain she thought I was. Tears started to prick at my eyes, not from fear, but from the release of weeks of pent-up frustration and heartbreak. I had been betrayed by the two people I trusted most and gaslit by my own mother into feeling responsible. But now, standing there, I was reclaiming my voice. I shouted, cried, and demanded answers. Why would they do this to me? How could my brother look me in the eye and act like nothing happened? Why was Lena pretending I was the cruel one? The confrontation lasted hours, chaotic, raw, and painful. Friends and neighbors who somehow learned about the situation started calling and messaging me, offering support, advice, and even just a listening ear. I reached out to a lawyer for guidance and began consulting a counselor to help process the emotional wreckage. Slowly, I realized I wasn't completely alone. I had allies who weren't caught in the betrayal, people who saw the situation for what it was and wanted to help me stand firm. The social fallout was intense. Word spread quickly among family and friends, and while some were shocked at the revelations, others began reevaluating their assumptions about who was right and wrong. I could see the shift in my mother, too. She wasn't openly apologetic, but her tone softened in subsequent conversations. There were moments where she hesitated, questioned Lena and Ryan's version of events, and even admitted, quietly, that maybe she had judged me too harshly. In the days that followed, I noticed a change in myself, too. I was no longer the same person paralyzed by betrayal, anxiety, and guilt. I had transformed, mentally and emotionally. Shock and hurt had been replaced with clarity and determination. I could assert my boundaries without fear. I could confront betrayal without crumbling. I had learned that family loyalty does not require sacrificing your self-respect, and that being manipulated is not the same as being responsible. One evening, I sat alone with my lawyer, reviewing options to ensure that I wouldn't be forced into any legal or financial obligations. For the first time, I felt a sense of control over my life, and it was intoxicating. I realized that revenge doesn't have to be cruel. It can simply be reclaiming your life, protecting yourself, and refusing to let manipulative people dictate your actions. This confrontation, as painful and draining as it was, marked a turning point. Lena and Ryan's smugness began to fade. My mother's rigid stance softened. I didn't need them to apologize or admit wrongdoing. I didn't need them to acknowledge the damage. What mattered was that I finally took a stand, proved my integrity, and refused to be their scapegoat any longer. And yet, the battle isn't over. I know that as long as the baby exists and my family's opinions matter to them, tensions will linger. But I've learned something invaluable. I can survive betrayal, humiliation, and pressure, and I can emerge stronger. I am no longer just the betrayed husband or the passive victim. I am someone who can face the worst family drama imaginable and refuse to let it destroy me. I don't know what Lena and Ryan will do next, or if my mother will fully come around. But I do know this. I will not be manipulated. I will not be shamed into paying for a betrayal I didn't create. And I will not lose myself to their lies. Final update: reclaiming my life after my cheating wife and brother betrayed me. It's been months since the chaos with Lena, Ryan, and my mother, and I can finally take a deep breath without feeling like the walls are closing in. Looking back, I can hardly believe how far I've come or how low I once felt. The betrayal I experienced cut deeper than anything I'd imagined, but with time, distance, and a lot of hard work, I've started to rebuild my life. The first major change was setting boundaries. I realized that maintaining contact with Lena, Ryan, or even my mother the way I had before only kept me in a cycle of guilt, anger, and humiliation. Now I limit communication strictly to what is necessary, primarily legal matters, and avoid personal interactions that might reopen old wounds. My mother and I still speak occasionally, but only in controlled, calm conversations. She's softened somewhat, though our relationship is cautious and measured. I've accepted that some family ties will never be what I hoped for. And that's okay. Lena and Ryan are no longer central to my life. Their posts online, the baby, even the awkward family gatherings, they no longer hold power over me. I don't engage in their attempts to manipulate or guilt me, and I've made it clear, legally and personally, that I won't be coerced into supporting a child that isn't mine. The freedom of that realization cannot be overstated. I finally feel like I am the one steering my life rather than reacting to someone else's chaos. Emotionally, the difference is night and day. Therapy has been crucial. I spent months unpacking the layers of betrayal, gaslighting, and manipulation, and learning to trust my own instincts again. I've explored hobbies and activities I'd neglected: running, reading, even joining a local photography group. These small steps remind me that life is bigger than the pain I went through, and that I have the power to create joy and meaning on my own terms. Work has become a safe and grounding part of my life. After the public humiliation earlier, I worried about how colleagues would perceive me. But over time, they've seen my resilience. Many were supportive, some offered encouragement when they learned the full story, and I've regained my confidence, professionally. I've even taken on a new project at work, something I never would have had the courage to do during the height of the drama. Financially and legally, I am secure. My lawyer ensured that I am protected from any forced financial responsibility toward the child or Lena and Ryan. This peace of mind is invaluable. It removes constant anxiety and allows me to focus on rebuilding rather than defending myself. Knowing my boundaries are legally respected gives me a sense of empowerment I didn't have before. The most surprising change has been in how I view relationships. I am cautious, yes, but also hopeful. I've started dating again, slowly, learning to trust myself in evaluating character and loyalty. Each small connection feels meaningful, and I'm no longer rushing or forcing anything because of past fears. Trust is being rebuilt, not just in others, but in my own judgment. Reflecting on the past, I realize I wouldn't change much about how I handled the situation. I did make mistakes, ignoring subtle warning signs, letting guilt and pressure eat at me, but ultimately, I stood firm when it mattered. I refused to be manipulated, refused to pay for someone else's betrayal, and refused to let anger and shame define my life. That decision, as difficult and isolating as it was, paved the way for my recovery. I've also learned invaluable lessons about loyalty, self-respect, and personal boundaries. Family isn't always a safe harbor, and love can sometimes blind people to reality. I understand now that protecting myself emotionally and mentally is not selfish, it's necessary. I can care for others without sacrificing my own well-being, and that mindset is empowering. Life isn't perfect. Some wounds still ache when I think about what happened. But the pain has softened. It no longer controls me. Instead, I feel a steady sense of empowerment, clarity, and resilience. The betrayal I endured taught me that I am stronger than I knew, and that I can survive even when the people I trust the most turn against me. Looking forward, I see opportunities for growth and happiness that I never would have appreciated in the past. I'm exploring new friendships, investing time in projects that excite me, and learning to enjoy my own company in ways I never did before. This journey has reminded me that self-respect and peace are more valuable than approval, guilt, or appearances. Also want to emphasize something I've learned the hard way. It's possible to forgive without forgetting, to accept reality without letting it control you, and to reclaim your life from people who tried to sabotage it. Lena, Ryan, and even my mother may never fully acknowledge the hurt they caused, but I no longer need them to. My happiness, my stability, and my future are mine to define. So for anyone reading this who feels trapped by betrayal, manipulation, or family pressure, know this. You are allowed to prioritize your own well-being. You are allowed to stand up, set boundaries, and reclaim your life. You are allowed to create a future that is free from the shadows of other people's choices. I'm finally starting to do that. Months after being blindsided by the most shocking betrayal of my life, I'm living on my own terms. I wake up feeling in control, capable, and free. I'm rebuilding trust in myself, forming meaningful connections, and embracing a future that I choose, not one dictated by betrayal, manipulation, or guilt. This chapter of my life isn't the end. It's the beginning of something new. I may still carry scars, but they are a testament to my resilience and strength. I am no longer defined by the betrayal I suffered. I am defined by how I responded, by my courage, and by my commitment to living authentically. And for the first time in a long time, I feel at peace.